Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
I'm a casual Star Wars pleb. Shut up, bitch.
And now, the conclusion.
It actually cut right after I said that. Perfect. That was another good transition because my next point was how Kylo so easily turned back to dark side bullshit. Because when I said do it, that was pretty much all it took to make Anakin turn back. Or forward. In The Last Jedi, he had wanted to say fuck it all because Rian Johnson wanted him to break the wheel because you would expect him to try and be Vader, but no, now he's sick of it all just because. However, in this movie, don't worry, he's right back to it because Palpatine said, hey, I will give you Empire and power you've never had before. Sure, Kylo Ren was like, hey, I'm just doing this to get to Rey so I can turn her. But he was also full back into the dark side, like all in. Sure, he wasn't gonna work for the Empire or the Emperor head on, straight on, whatever, but he was fucking all about the dark side. Like, sure, in The Last Jedi, he says, I'm gonna use the fucking First Order and take over and be Supreme Leader, but he wasn't really caring about the dark side. He was just doing that to get to Luke and destroy him and get to Rey. But in this movie, he's all about the dark side again. He even says, it's in our nature, we have to embrace it. He's the one that's telling Rey, you're a Palpy, so you gotta be dark side. I thought you just wanted to go down the middle and kill the Sith and the Jedi. I mean, he never says Sith specifically, but he does want to fucking be dark side. He reforges his helmet. He has a space chimp with elf ears reforge his helmet, and it looks like shit. Like, it looks dumber than it's supposed to look like shit, but it looks so bad like shit. It didn't look as scarred and cool as they probably thought it did. I'm sure they thought it looked cool. I mean, I was kind of glad the helmet was back, but at the same time, just fucking make a new one, you jank bitch. It looked so dumb. And speaking of the Death Star, which I did 20 minutes ago, the dagger that Rey uses that has like the Sith text on it was like the same dagger that her parents were killed with when they left her on a planet and then actually sold her to get her away from Palpy, and then a Jedi hunter Palpy hired killed them with this knife. And they end up using that ship to like get around when they're looking for the Jedi hunter and then eventually get to his knife. The knife has like a thing you pull out, and when Rey gets to like seeing the Death Star wreckage, she pulls the thing on, holds it up to the fucking Death Star and is like, ah, there, that's where the other Wayfinder is, so I can go kill Palpatine, and we can stop this fleet. Which really, will that stop the fleet? No. Not if you only have 5 fucking rebellion ships left. Once Palpatine's dead, they could just have one of their commanders be like, just go nuke and shit. Just blow up all the planets, fuck it. First Order's not gonna fall just because we lost Palpy. He was half decrepit anyway. He had half fingies. So we expected him to die. We could just keep going on. That was like their big plan. They hedged all their bets on that. And the knife just, a little protractor thing comes out, and I forget what she was lining it up with like some wreckage, and it was just so random and arbitrary. Because it just, the protractor lined up with the piece of wreckage, and at the tip of it was where the protractor ended. So she's like, yeah, that's probably where it is. And of course, that leads her to the throne room, and that's where she runs into Kylo Ren, and they fight. And then at some point, she ends up on a Star Destroyer? A lot fucking happened. I don't remember. I just saw it! They were like fighting though, where they were imagining being there with each other, but were somehow still fighting. And of course, Vader's helmet makes an appearance, and Kylo sees it and is like, ha! She's been in my room on this Star Destroyer. Get her. And then at another point, they capture Chewbacca when they're on the planet trying to trace down the Wayfinder, and she like uses Force Lightning to fucking blow something up because she and Kylo are trying to they're both force pulling the transporter that they think Chewbacca's on, and she tries so hard and accidentally poops out Force Lightning from her hand and blows it up. Because I guess Force Lightning is just a Palpy thing you can just accidentally do. Fuck it being dark side power that you learn. Sorry, Count Pooku. I don't know what my point was. So yeah, the Wayfinder, they get it. Kylo destroys it in the throne room. Rey is mad, and for some reason, like, they're really trying to push that her wanting to kill Palpatine after finding out her heritage means that she's dark side now and should be ashamed. But I mean, she's not like Anakin, where he went back to that fucking Sand Raider or whatever village and just killed everything that moves, and still somehow went back to be a Jedi and become a Jedi Master. This review is about as rushed as the fucking movie. If you're confused here, you're pretty much getting the experience I got with the movie. Am I out of focus? Probably. But yeah, like I said before, I mean, that's my next bullet point. A lot of the Death Star was left, and really it shouldn't have been. One of the doors actually opens in the throne room, and that's when Kylo Ren comes in. It's just, I get pieces of it being around, but it had like whole massive ass chunks of it. Whatever, of course, Imperial March played. Somber version of it. So anyway, I forgot there was like some force fight that led to... Force fight? There was a sword fight. Lightsaber fight, you noob. Did you even watch this movie? On the way to the Death Star, there's like an ocean that's really choppy with a bunch of wreckage, and Kylo is trying to chase her down on her way to the Death Star wreck, and they're fighting, and Leia is back at like the rebel base on a planet, and she just reaches out to the Force, through the Force to him to call his name, and then Rey shanks him with his own saber once he's distracted. Because he had actually been winning the fight. Like, the tables were turning, and I guess he was stronger. And as Rey was about to get struck down, that's when Kylo hears his Meemaw calling him. And he drops his saber, she catches it, and shanks him in the tummus. And earlier, she had healed a worm while looking for the dagger. And so we learned she can, like, force heal. So she shanks him, he's dying, she force heals him, and leaves. And then they kind of meet up again. And that's when the Wayfinder gets destroyed. What was my point? Oh, my point is that kind of helped lead to his redemption. Because after Rey leaves, he kind of is standing on the wreckage, and there's a cool moment where, I guess, Harrison Ford, Han Solo, you idiot, is talking to him, and it's kind of his memory, but also maybe it's his ghost, who knows? But he throws his lightsaber out and turns good. I mean, after Rey heals him even, she's like, yeah, I was reaching out for your hand in The Last Jedi, but I was reaching for Ben, not Kylo Ren. Why do those rhyme? But meeting his ghost memory dad kind of was the final thing, and I guess his mom calling out to him and dying afterwards, it ultimately turned him. Which is great, because he does a whole lot of something. I don't think he says another fucking word in the movie, actually. I think he's quiet the rest of the movie. And the whole thing felt rushed. Like he's good now. Okay, I mean, he went back to embracing the dark side pretty quickly, and he gave up on turning Rey to it, and instead, Harrison Ford said, be good. And he said, okay, I'll be good. Because you're now both parents are fucking dead, and he got shanked, and now he's good. Also, the Knights of Ren didn't really do much for a long time. They got their helmets forged by space chimpery as well, and they don't ever say anything, and for the longest time they're just like Boba Fett. He fights them later, when he's trying to help Rey get to Palpy. They show up, and she teleports a lightsaber to him, because she's got hers and Leia's, like I said way earlier, like 2 hours ago. Stop leaning in, you're probably really out of focus. And he just kind of kills them off. They were just a bunch of jerks with, like, special weapons. One of them has a big fucking butcher knife thing, sword. They didn't even really get that in-depth of a fight. They were scrubs. They were like stormtroopers with the special chimp-forged armor and swords. They had some red lights on them. They were just Boba Fetts. Did I already say that? Well, I'm saying it again. They were Boba Fetts. They actually did more than Boba Fett. And then another problem I had, because this is a problem list, I kind of jumped back into summarizing a lot. That's what we do here on this channel. We try to get some structure and talk about balding a lot. And then fail and bald some more. Palpy being the pep-pep, the great pep-pep, the grand pep-pep of Rey is just so random. But it's kind of had to be done because Rian Johnson or whatever was like, hey, she's not related to anybody. And then J.J. Abrams had to come back and be like, oh, yeah, she is, motherfucker. She's related to Emperor Palpatine. And that's just really weird to me because did anybody ever see fucking Palpy having a kid? Like, I guess I could see him having one because it probably had to have happened after he had already started the Empire. But I was thinking if he'd had like a kid during the whole Senate thing, it would have to be an illegitimate child because nobody knew wouldn't want to have an illegitimate child as a senator because space people would probably get upset since real people on this poop hole planet do. But it's probably after anyway, so that point's moot. Why did I even bring it up? Fuck me. But still, he had a kid at some point, and then he has him killed, and then he wants his grandkid to like come take over his throne. Kill him, he'll possess her, they'll become one with all the Sith. Which I guess now they're all connected even though they fucking hated each other and were always backstabbing each other. Whatever, they're one big Force ghost spirit now. Which kind of reminds me, and also is the next bullet point, because like I said, I try to do some structure. During the final showdown, the heroes are like woefully outnumbered against this fleet, and TIE fighters are shredding them apart. And they had to be down to like 2 ships. Poe and Finn, and then that's 2. Then fucking Lando shows up with his fleet, because they had sent him in the Millennium Falcon. Of course, because they had to. Nostalgia. Chewie was there too! Because they rescued him. And the fleet shows up, but it kind of just shows up. Like, they could have had an epic moment. I hate that fucking word now. They could have had a moment where the ships kind of like zoom in and start blowing up the enemy ships, but instead Lando just jumps on the comms and he's like, hey kid, there's more of us now. And then Poe flies up because he was about to give up, and everybody's like, ah, we're dying! And he's like, sorry everybody, I thought we had a chance with 5 ships. Turns out we didn't. Oops. But he like does a U-turn and sees the fleet, and it's like, yeah, there's the good guys. They're just there. And some of them kept popping in. It was a little hard to see. Maybe because of the way I saw the movie. Just kidding! Yeah, the ships are just like coming in, but the wall of the ships is just there when he turns around. You don't hear or see them coming. It was such a waste. Come on, Disney, you also did the whole portal scene with the Avengers. You couldn't fucking slap something like that together for Star Wars? Maybe they were like, hey, it'll look too much like it, so they'll just be there. And they were. And then Palpy force lightning them, because by this point he had sucked the life force from Kylo and Rey. Because Kylo killed the jerks and got there. And he killed the Knights of Ren, the Knights of Boba, Knights of Bofa, and the 2 of them went to Palpy, and he tried to like tell Rey like, hey, kill me and take my spirit and take the throne, and then you can save your friends who are getting horrendously murdered, or let them get horrendously murdered. And then Kylo showed up, and he's like, okay, stand together, die together, or I'll eat your life force. He didn't think he could. It just happened. Somehow accidentally, and he saw his fingies grow back, and then he force lightninged all the ships. But even then, I mean, by this point it got me kind of hyped up for the final fight, but all it was just him lightning the ships, throwing Kylo Ren away down a fucking pit. He says, I'm going to throw this Skywalker as I was thrown. Bye! And then Rey gets up after all the Jedi tell her to. She grabs the other lightsaber back from Kylo when he's falling to oblivion. I guess she just pulls it back. Good thing it didn't fall too far when he did. And she just like holds the lightsabers across while he force lightnings her. And she just kind of bounces it back at him. And instead of stopping the force lightning, like the first time this happened to him, he keeps doing it. But at least the first time, I think he was trying to manipulate Anakin. This time, he's just like, I can't stop it! And then he gets blown up with it. And then his whole gathering of Sith gets blown up with it. And the temple they're in, I'm making it sound cool, but it all happened in like 2 minutes. It wasn't really much. I guess what can you really do with a guy that shoots lightning and a girl that has lightsabers? You just make them clash? I don't know. Throw some more exposition in there. Just have her doubt herself some more when it's happening. Instead, she's just like, I'm all of the Jedi. While he was saying he was all the Sith. In the end, literally, that fight.